Did you know that just a few minutes of phone use before bed can delay your body's melatonin release by up to an hour? And that most people do this every single night without realizing they're actively sabotaging their sleep. The problem is that it feels harmless, but one simple habit can stop you becoming another exhausted statistic and start protecting your sleep from tonight onwards. Let's get something straight before we start. If you're tired, foggy, irritable, or constantly feeling like you're running low on battery, that does not mean that you're lazy or undisciplined. It usually means that your daily systems are just quietly working against you. Welcome to the Big Daddy's Big Tips podcast. This is the daily podcast for people who are tired of being told to try harder or to push more and somehow summon motivation that never seems to last. This is not a podcast about hacks or hustle. It's definitely not a podcast about pretending that life is simple when it clearly isn't. Most people do not struggle because they lack information. They struggle because their environment, their routines, and their habits are quietly pulling them in one direction, whilst their goals are trying to pull them in another. And goals will lose that fight almost every single time. Because life doesn't change in one big decision. It changes because of what you repeat. Day after day, week after week, those repetitions either work for you or they quietly work against you. And every single day, we make hundreds of small decisions. What we eat, how we move, what we scroll, what time we go to bed, what we do in the final minutes of our day, when we're tired, and our guard is down. And each one of these decisions creates a ripple effect. Some ripples will make tomorrow easier. Others will make tomorrow more difficult. And the dangerous thing about ripple effects is that they don't announce themselves. You don't feel them immediately. You don't notice them even after a few days, maybe even after a few weeks. Often, you'll only notice them when you're already exhausted, overwhelmed, or feeling stuck, wondering why everything feels that little bit harder than it should. Where you are today is not a mystery, though. It's the result of the ripples that you've created thus far. That's not blame, that's leverage. Because if small, repeated habits created this version of your life, different small habits can create another version. That is what daily wins are all about. They're not impressive, they're not spectacular, they don't feel dramatic, but they do work. And here's the part that most people miss. The quality of your decisions depends heavily on the state of your body. I call this priming your vessel. When your vessel is overstimulated, when it's underrested, when it's constantly wired, good decisions can feel harder. You drift, you react, you reach for comfort. But when your vessel is calm, when it's rested, when it's regulated, good decisions feel more obvious. You don't need willpower, you need less friction. And this podcast exists to help you reduce that friction. We do that by working across our health, wealth, and happiness simultaneously, not separately, as one system, because they are already linked, whether you acknowledge it or not. And each tip you hear from me is going to be very deliberately very small, because the small things are the repeatable things, and the repeatable things are the only things that actually change our lives. So don't look for a breakthrough today, look for a shift in direction. Okay, so now let's talk about today's tip. Today's tip is one of the highest leverage habits you can build if you want better energy, better decisions, and a calmer life. Today's tip is simply to limit screen time before bed. Not all day, not forever, just in the final window before you fall asleep. And the reason this matters so much is because sleep is not just rest. Sleep is regulation. Your sleep quality determines so many things: your energy the next day, your emotional control, your impulse control, your decision making, your ability to follow through on intentions, and screens quietly destroy that foundation. So with that in mind, let's look at what actually happens. Your brain uses light to decide whether it's daytime or nighttime. Bright screens, phones, tablets, TVs, tell your brain that it's still daytime, even if it's 11 p.m. and you're exhausted. When that happens, your brain delays releasing melatonin, which is the hormone that allows you to fall asleep deeply and recover properly. So you might fall asleep, but it will take longer. Your sleep may well be lighter, you may well wake up more often in the night, and you may well feel less restored. And the next day, you're going to pay that price. Here's the trap. Scrolling feels harmless. Checking messages, it feels productive. Watching one more thing feels relaxing. But what you're actually doing is keeping your nervous system switched on at the exact moment we need to switch it off. So you close the app, but the app doesn't close you. Your brain keeps replaying information and your nervous system stays alert, so your body never fully powers down, and that has ripple effects. A tired brain makes worse decisions. It can crave sugar or inconvenience. It can react emotionally. It can spend impulsively. That's why limiting screens before bed is such a powerful daily win. It doesn't just improve your sleep, it improves your tomorrow. Now, this habit can create a transition between daytime and nighttime, a nice buffer zone where your body and brain are allowed to slow down. Now, this doesn't have to be extreme. You're not banning screens forever. You're not becoming a monk. You're just creating a boundary. For example, let's just say no screens for 30 minutes before bed, or you leave your phone outside of the bedroom, or just a simple rule like no scrolling once I'm in bed. Anything like that is more than enough. And once you set that boundary, you'll start to notice things. You'll fall asleep faster. Your mind will feel quieter. You'll wake up feeling clearer. You'll be less reactive. And because you're less tired, you'll make better decisions all day long. That is a ripple effect in action. So let's look at how this shows up across your healthy wealth and your happiness. For your health, better sleep improves hormones, immune function, memory, mood, recovery. It reduces inflammation, cravings, and fatigue. Sleep is the foundation of priming your vessel. Protect it, and everything else becomes easier. As far as your wealth is concerned, a rested brain is a smarter brain. You focus better at work. You make fewer impulse purchases. You rely less on convenience foods and quick fixes. Over time, good sleep supports productivity. It supports earning potential, and it supports better financial decisions. In terms of your happiness, poor sleep makes life feel heavier. Small problems feel much bigger. You're less patient, you're less present, you're more irritable. Good sleep does the opposite. You feel calmer, you feel kinder, you feel more grounded, and more like yourself. And here's the deeper benefit. Every time you put your phone down instead of scrolling, you reinforce a new identity. You're proving to yourself that you can protect your future self even when it's uncomfortable. That builds trust, and trust is what makes every other habit easier. So let's keep it simple. Choose a screen-free window. You decide how long it is, but protect it, and notice how tomorrow feels. And let those ripple effects compound over time. Before you go, I'd like to just reset the pace, because one of the easiest mistakes to make after listening to something like this is to rush straight back into doing, to turn insight into pressure, to feel like you need to fix everything tonight. That instinct is exactly what keeps people stuck. Because real change doesn't come from urgency, it doesn't come from intensity, it comes from momentum. And momentum is built quietly, from daily wins that you actually keep. Not ones you plan, not the ones you talk about out loud, the ones you repeat when no one is watching. Every small promise you keep with yourself rebuilds trust, and trust changes behavior. It changes how you treat your body. It changes how you spend your money. It changes how you respond under pressure. It changes how you show up in relationships. So this is why we don't separate health, wealth, and happiness within Big Daddy's Big Tips, because they are not different problems. They're different expressions of the same system. Improve the system, and everything else downstream improves with it. If you'd like a way to make that momentum visible, always feel free to download your free copy of my Big Daddy's Foundation Blueprint. It's not a challenge, it's not a program, just a simple structure that helps you track your daily wins and spot your daily drifts early and see how small actions are stacking up across your health, wealth, and happiness. You can find it in the show notes on my website or via the link in my bio on Instagram. And if today's episode has resonated with you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody who's always tired but doesn't know why. That's how ripple effects spread beyond just yourself. So take this clarity with you, not as pressure, but as direction. Because direction, repeated daily, always wins. I end each episode by asking you a question that you can answer in the comments below, and today's question is this. Knowing how much screen time before bed affects your sleep and your decision making, what one small boundary could you put in place tonight to protect your future self? Have a think about it. Let me know what springs to mind in the comments below, because I would love to hear from you. Big love, Big Daddy.